I am sick of getting calls every single week about someone who had just been evicted from their house, from their apartment, from someone who is on the verge of being evicted, or someone who's looking for support because they don't know where else to go to. I'm sick of it, and I know you all are sick of it too. And the fact that we have the highest increasing average rent of the country. I'm looking at this report that was done by Redfin, and I think most of you have seen it, 39%. The next up, Seattle at 33%. That's ridiculous. And I don't know if I was here as a city council member, I could not show my face. While I know that we are number one in the most increasing rent in the country. In the country. And so I'm asking you, please, please do something. Because the longer we wait, the longer it's going to be for people to get housing, whether it's Section 8 or regular housing. We need something done. So I'm asking you to please fund the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Please put it on the ballot for November, because the people deserve a chance to vote for this, to vote for more affordable housing here in the city. This city has so much potential, and I hate to see so many people on the streets or on the couch or looking for housing because they don't know where else to go. So please allow the people to vote for issue 3 in November. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Up next is Pearl Crawford. Welcome. You have 2 minutes.
Hello, good morning. Good afternoon. I was talking about the Walnut Hills area, and we need a lot of changes in Walnut Hills because there's a lot of people is getting delayed with the guns and stuff, and they need to put a stop to that because there's elders that live in our building, and it terrifies them when they hear it every day, and this is constantly every day. And I just want to make some changes over there at Walnut Hills and Kemper Lane Apartments and try to get some new owners that we don't know that we got and make some kind of changes in this building because it's going down. It's really bad. Walnut Hills area on Gilbert Avenue is going down. And I live in a efficiency, and I have not got no cold water in my living room, but I have it in the bath. And that's been like 5 months, and then I have not got fixed yet. And I have heart problems, and I need my cold water in the living room where I sleep at. There's only cold water in the bath, but I don't have it in my living room. And I have heart problems, and I need it all fixed. And it ain't been fixed about 4 months. So if they make a change to that, that'd be good too for the Walnut Hills area. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Up next is Sandra Higgins. Welcome. You have 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me here today. My name is Sandra Higgins, and I am a resident at Alexandra Apartments, located at 921 William Howard Taft. The Alexandra, and if you hear me say her, that's what I'm talking about. She is she's a beautiful building. She's 118 years old. Over the years, she's been so disrespected. She's changed hands quite a few times. I want to know what we can do to not just the Alexandra, but the surrounding buildings. We need the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to either help us to better the area and the buildings, or to even be joint owners. We can be co-owners. I love the Alexandra. I'm not going anywhere. But she needs so much attention. And I know that there is an Affordable Housing Trust Fund that can help us. And I am asking each and every one of you all, help us to keep our home. We fought off foreclosure. We're still standing. She is a golden gem in Walnut Hills' crown. She deserves the utmost respect. I'm asking every one of you, please, give us the funds that we need or that we seek to help us keep our home and better our home. Not just my home, Walnut Hills everywhere. That is one of the most prominent places I would ever want to live. Crime is everywhere. I know that. You can't run from it. I'm not running from it. I'm ready to face it, but I have to face it being in my home. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, welcome to the
Mona
Mona
and Mark Show.
Show. Hey, everybody. We're glad to be here. Thank you for joining us for this live show. I want to give a shout out to the residents of Walnut Hills who spoke up at City Hall yesterday, who lent their voice to the urgent need of affordable housing here in Cincinnati. We know that the City Council has an ability to be able to put it on the ballot. Unfortunately, they only have a little bit of time to do that this month. So we're glad that they went and spoke about that. So what's up, Mona? What's going on?
Nothing much. Just hanging out. A lot of folks need to know about what's going on. Got to stand up. Got to speak out.
Awesome. So we are going to be talking about, again, urging City Council to put affordable housing on the ballot. We want to give you a sneak peek of what's coming in November of 2020 and the public education opportunities that we'll have for everybody. We're going to talk a little bit about what does it mean, affordable housing. We'll give you some street vibes updates and talk about how to get involved. Of course, we're always going to ask for your questions. So if you want to go ahead and put in the chat, we'll be, I think Mona is going to be watching the chat. So whether you're watching us on YouTube or on Facebook, we are glad that you're here. Go ahead and hit the share button right now. Make sure you share this right now so your friends and families can follow along and see what we are up to. Pretty exciting stuff going on this season here. For the most part, right?
That's right. You know, November's coming up this fall. November is Homelessness Awareness Month, and so we'll be having plenty of events to learn. We'll have speakers, we'll have tours, training, and more. So be sure to sign up to get learn a lot about, you know, not only the epidemic, but how we can address it, and then also how you can plug into the Homeless Coalition. You know, when I first started working here, I always say this, Dr. Mark took me on a tour, and as long as I've lived here, which is now, at that time, it'd been about 10 years, there was a lot of stuff that I had no idea. So often we walk within our neighborhoods and don't think anything twice about a specific building and to learn about the history. Now it's like, as soon as I walk by, I'm like, oh, this is where this happened, right? So join us so you can learn more about some amazing things that have happened in the development and history of our city.
Yeah, and we'll be doing a pay what you can, so everyone can get their tickets. The tickets are not available yet. We just wanted to let everybody know to make sure you're watching our Facebook and you're paying attention to our events that we share, because we'll make them into events that anyone can come to. And I think we might be doing something about Tenants 101 and tenants' rights event as well. So hopefully people will keep in tune to that as well. That'd be great. I did want to thank a bunch of folks. So we did a alternative break. So people might call it like a service learning trip. We call it the Cincinnati Urban Experience. And we had a group of young folks, high school students that came from all different high schools. They were here from Loveland, and they're all slipping my mind right now, Wyoming, other places. And so it was really awesome to have them come, and they did an alternative break with us. And it was really awesome because they got to take showers at the Mary Magdalene House, which was really a good experience for them. They stayed at Prince of Peace. So thank you so much, Pastor John over at Prince of Peace. Thank you so much for the shower house for letting them do that. They also worked with John and Andy over at the Catholic Worker House, and they did some street vibe stuff. So really awesome. I just want to thank everybody, all our alternative break attendees, but also our participating partners that really helped them get a really unique experience here in Cincinnati. So I just wanted to thank everybody for that, and remind people that we do alternative breaks. So if you're a college student, you're looking to do an alternative break and you don't know where to go, come to the Homeless Coalition here in Cincinnati, and you'll learn all about gentrification and displacement, poverty, hunger, all the stuff that we talk about, homelessness, right? And then how we as individuals can work to help eradicate homelessness. So please make sure that you are sharing this video right now so people can learn about our alternative breaks program.
All right. So we're going to talk about today, Dr. Mark.
So we're really going to talk about what do we mean by
Rolling
affordable
on,
housing.
but the rent.
Right.
Got to have a J-O-B if you want to be with me.
Yeah, so basically the rent's too damn high. And we just heard Rico talk about yesterday at City Council about Cincinnati is the highest growing percentage in rent increases that in all across the country, right? So rent is raising up here more than anywhere else. And that's not just because, right? A big part of that is because of the tax abatements that we've been giving to developers from outside of the city. We specifically created a tax abatement program to encourage outside investors to come into the city and buy up housing and turn it into apparently luxury housing, because 95% of our housing in the city that the city puts money towards goes to luxury housing. And we have groups like Vision and Beyond that have come in and bought over 2,000 units of housing since the pandemic began. And their model is to turn affordable housing into market rate housing. So we know that it is increasing, the demand for affordable housing is increasing even beyond the 40,000 units we needed in the county, in 2017. So we see that it's increasing and it's going up. But we get a lot of questions about what does AMI mean? What does that mean? And so we're going to break that down here in a few slides. We posted this, maybe you can't see at the top, but it says affordable housing is 60% AMI. Anything else is market rate. So what we are talking about here, we'll kind of explain in a second. On here, it says affordable housing can be defined by how much a household is paying. A household should not be paying more than 30% of their income towards their housing. But also, if we look at it by a community or a group of people, we can see what is considered affordable is that 60%. So don't worry, you can't read this slide. We've got it a bigger slide coming up here in a second. So
and let me step in and make 2 points. So one, when we talk about luxury apartments, it doesn't necessarily mean that the luxury is in the facility itself. It's luxury prices, right? Because we've seen that the development has happened where the rents are going up, but yet there's no maintenance, there's no updates, none of that. But the prices are up, right? So let's be mindful about that. Then also, it's 60% AMI for what you should be paying for your rent or your mortgage, right? So a lot of people make an assumption that when we talk about affordable housing, it means renters. No, right. You should not be paying more than 30% of your income for your mortgage. Right. Okay. So,
well, your mortgage and your insurance, your housing costs. That's why we really want people to know it's about your housing costs. So, right. Regardless if you're renting or owning, it's about those housing costs. So that's a really good point there. And so we developed back a couple years ago we developed this Afford Rent Calculator, which is on the Google Play Store. So for people to determine what's affordable for them and for their household, so you can put in, your household makes, this is just an image, $42,000 a year, which means that you can afford $930 a month, including your utilities, right? Your housing, your utilities, all your costs. And you can add monthly utilities, stuff like that. And then you can also say, well, somebody works, 40 hours a week and they make $14.99 an hour. So their salary is $34,000. So you can kind of look at it that, and then they can afford $858 on it. So we created this rent calculator back in the day because we wanted people to have the ability to be able to figure out what is affordable to a household. But we need to look at this differently though, because when we're looking at AMI, what we're looking at is that we're talking about a group of people. And a lot of times people mess it up and they'll say things like average median income or like area average income or, so we really want you to know that AMI stands for area median income. So area is a location. It could be a neighborhood, a city, a state, a county, but it also could be a group of people. And we'll look at that in a moment. It could be Black citizens in Cincinnati versus white citizens in Cincinnati, right? Like we can look at AMI kind of split up in different ways. And so it's based upon the income and based upon the area. And then median is the household in the middle. So I drew a little street here and I said, look, on one side of the street, you have the people making the most. And then the other side, you got people making the least. So, the person over here might be making 0, 0, 0. But then this person right in the middle, right on this edge between the half making the most and half making the least, that's the AMI. That's the area median, just like a median's in the middle of the road. So the person in the middle of, if you lined everyone up for the person who makes the most to the person who makes the least, the person right in the middle is that median income. So that doesn't mean that the people down here below make close to that median income, right? And it doesn't mean the people up here make close to that median income because it's not an average. It's the person in the middle. So you could have a whole bunch of people who make 0 on one side and a whole bunch of people who make $1 million on the other side, and then people are floating in between. But it's that person, if you lined everyone up right in the middle, that's the median income. Does that make sense?
Sure does.
Anyone in the comments? We'd love to hear from you. Just let us know you're here as well. So what we're saying is that once you figure out that median income for an area, a group of people, a neighborhood, a county, then what's affordable is no more than 60% of that AMI, of that amount. So in Cincinnati, it's about $35,000 a year for AMI. So 60% is going to be less than that. So we're going to go look at some graphs here on what that means. So if we look at this graph here, this is from our 201 training. So if you're looking to learn more about affordable housing, please let us know. We'll be doing it in November for Pay What You Can, but you can always ask us to come do it for your school or for your office. We've had different groups and organizations do it. But basically what we can see here is that we broke it down, the AMI, by the West End, a neighborhood in the city of Cincinnati, the Black residents in the city of Cincinnati, the white residents in the city of Cincinnati, the city total, and what HUD considers affordable based upon our region that we have here, which goes all the way up past Oxford, Ohio, and down into Kentucky and out east and parts of Indiana, right? But that's how HUD decides affordability. So based upon this, when someone gets a LIHTC credit, which is funds to create affordable housing, stay affordable for 15 years, it has to be at this 60% AMI, generally for the HUD-defined amount. So it could be affordable for people making under $50,000 a year because they added everybody in the area to that. But if we look at the West End, for instance, where the area median income, meaning half the people make less than $14,000 a year and half the people make more than $14,000 a year, the AMI for that is way down here. And I'll break it down a little bit in a second. But what you can see is when you look at it by a neighborhood or a city or a region, you're getting different AMIs. That's the whole reason I want to point this out. And when Mona, when you brought this up before, you said, well, they're using Hamilton County AMI, which is $97,000 a year, according to FannieMae.com. So that's even higher than this metro area, which is about 80 something. So we're talking 60% AMI for the county is, they're saying it could be affordable for people making $60,000 a year, which doesn't seem affordable to me.
So that's always going to be a key question, right? Especially like if you're going to your community council meetings and the developer is coming in and saying, oh yeah, this is affordable.
Yes.
Make them break that down. How, what AMI are you using? Are you using the county? Are you using the city? Because that's going to make a difference. That's a huge difference. And I think that Metro is higher than, or is lower than the county because you're including some of the rural areas, right?
Right.
And some of the rural areas are probably have more folks that have lower income into it. So all of that factors into it, right? And that's why don't be afraid to ask questions. Refer back to this if especially if that someone's coming in to your community council or you're reading some documentation. Always feel free to ask questions and to get more information to make an informed decision.
Absolutely. And there's in the 201 training, we actually show a map of the metropolitan statistical area. And it shows where there's pockets of poverty down in Kentucky and other places too, right? So the county itself includes places like Indian Hill, that's going to boost it up quite significantly. So we know that people are making over that. So now if we look at this, someone asked me, well, what about like fair market rent and market rent? Where do these numbers fall into that? Because a lot of times when you talk about AMI, even though we're talking about households, if we're applying an AMI to a studio apartment or efficiency, that's just not right. AMI is really designed to be for like a family. And so there's different levels of, poverty guidelines in terms of how many people are in your family and things like that. But really in the spirit of it, a 2-bedroom apartment, which if we look at fair market rent is around $865, and market rent, it's around, $1,100, something like that. We can see that the most people, and especially Black folks, half of Black people make in the West End here make less than $14,000. In the city, it's only $24,000. So half of Black households in the city of Cincinnati make less than $25,000 a year. So at that point, if you're only making $25,000 a year, you can't afford even the fair market rate stuff is too high. And again, if you don't know, fair market rates are actually created to make it so it's profitable for landlords. Even though it has the word fair in it, it's so that Section 8 can be profitable for landlords. So it's not fair market, meaning that it's an amount that's fair. It's fair market. That means that it'll make money for landlords so that they can encourage them to be Section 8 tenant renters. So we can see, clearly it's out here. So what I did is I developed this app that's going to be on the Google Play Store as soon as I can figure out the signature key thing. I don't know what's going on. But basically what you do is you put in the AMI. So you could put in, it's kind of hard to see here because this banner's on top. Let me take this top banner off maybe. I don't know. I don't know how the banner's up there. But basically what you do is you put it in and then it'll tell you at 60% AMI, I don't know what number was in here because I can't see the top. At 60% AMI, it tells you that it's probably the 45,000. So at 60% AMI, you're looking at $1,275 or less, and that would be considered affordable. So at 30%, 630. Oh, at 100%, 2125. So this might have been 65,000. I can't really see from here. But basically in the app, you just put in the AMI and it tells you what is 60%, 80%, 100%, and 120% AMI. And understanding, or for rent, what it would be for rent, to pay that rent. And then you can click on this button. Oops, can't see it. But you can click on the button and it explains what is market rate, and that market rate is anything above 60% AMI, and that sometimes people call workforce housing, which is 60 to 120% AMI, but it's still market rate. Workforce housing is still market rate. And then a little bit note about affordable housing. So hopefully this will be available soon on the Google Play Store so that you can easily, and then it'll save, it makes whatever you search for, it saves, so you can just switch back and forth and look at what those rents would be for that AMI to be considered affordable in that area. Does that make sense?
And that's another trick of the trade, right? A lot of folks throw out the word workforce because they want to make you think, oh, we're intentionally trying to make it affordable for our nurses and firefighters and teachers, right? And it's like, of course we want those folks to be able to afford it, right? So, but they can't. So it's one of those mental obstacle courses where sometimes developers will say workforce because they want you to think about that, think about those folks who need that housing, but in all actuality, they can't. And it's market rate. So it's that play on words that get us to really try to blindside us. But again, that goes back into asking questions. When you say workforce, what does that mean? Break it down as far as what is this going to cost someone?
Right. And when I pulled out my app that I did here, and I put in the 24,000. So for Black Cincinnatians, the median income is 24,000, which means that half of the people make more than 24,000 and half of Black people households make less than 24,000, right? So if you think about that, if half of the Black households make less than 24,000 in Cincinnati, that means that they would need to pay no more than $360 for their housing per month for it to be considered affordable. And we're including utilities, and we know Duke Energy costs $100, right? So that means the rent would have to be $260. This is why we are in a crisis, right? We don't have enough affordable housing and supportive housing for folks. We don't have jobs that pay livable wages. So many of the common jobs pay under a livable wage, especially because we have such anti-Black racism in Cincinnati. So Black folks are, struggle to, get quality jobs or retain those jobs because they're in, spaces that are super racist. And, why? Well, we know why, because the legacy of white supremacy remains strong in the city of Cincinnati. But so Black folks are cut out of housing, but also education and transportation and jobs, and all of that, showing that this crisis is really a big deal. And then when we look at it, once we get to about $60,000 a year, we're actually at a surplus of housing. So there is enough luxury housing. We do not need, when someone comes into your community council and say, we need housing at all levels, that is a lie. We have plenty of luxury housing. For people who are making over $60,000 a year, there is no shortage of housing for you. You are not looking for housing that you can't find. If you're making over $60,000 a year, there's plenty of housing for you. And I just have to stress that, because if they're saying housing for everybody, we need housing at all levels, they're going to continue, and by they, I mean city council members, are going to continue putting money towards luxury housing instead of where we need it, which is 0 to 30% AMI. It's that 0 to 60% AMI for Black families, families making up to $24,000 a year. That's where we need the support. We need to stop throwing the money at luxury housing. Trickle-down housing is not a thing. It does not exist. It does not exist. And so we need to change and challenge City Hall when they give these tax abatements, when they give these funds, so they can buy granite countertops in their luxury, apartments again for the second time. We need to challenge them and say, you need to either match this with affordable housing or stop giving funding towards the luxury housing. Sorry.
I get it. I had a point, but I totally forgot what I was going to say, but I hope it'll come back to me.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so, if y'all want to learn more about this, please, sign up for a 201, get your organization part of it, get the Affordable Housing 201 so you can learn more about the trust fund. You can watch our videos here on YouTube. Some of our old videos. The issue 3 teach-in is really good if you want to learn about the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. I feel like we just did another video about the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, maybe the last Mona and Mark show. Yeah, I think we did a lot about the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So, go back, watch those videos, and it'll be good. So we don't need more plans or studies. I keep putting this in here because it's like, we know what needs to be done, right? Like, we need just cause eviction. You can't just say people are on their own. You know, we need to make sure that there's mediation happening when people are, you know, their housing is being threatened. We at the Homeless Coalition help organize tenant organizations, but at the same time, we need policies that can protect people in their homes, like the pay to stay ordinance. And, you know, the courts are not trying to honor that. And so legal aid had to take them to court last month, and now it's ruled that pay to stay is legal. So that is the defense in court here in Hamilton County. Inclusionary zoning, of course, we need that. Rent control, all of this stuff, right? You know, we know what we need, but it comes down to we need dedicated funding for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Without that dedicated funding, we're just, you know, we're just falling further behind, and it's getting worse. And it's not like we didn't come out and say this for the last 6-7 years. Like, since I've been at the coalition 7 years, I know Josh Spring has been at City Hall saying we have an affordable housing crisis. And so this is not the fact that the rents are going up more than anywhere else in the country is not a result of us saying, hey, we need more affordable housing. It's that we saw this coming.
Right.
We saw this coming by the number of people that are showing up in the shelter or sleeping on the street or coming to our door to get their mail, or, you know, asking for services, calling our phone lines. Like this has been snowballing, and we saw it coming. And we all had the chance last year to put it, we got it on the ballot. We had the chance to vote on it in 2021, but the powers that be decided that that wasn't what they wanted. So the city manager and, you know, some of the council members, they all kind of came out against it because they said that they didn't really have the foresight to get it done themselves, or to figure out how it was going to get funded, right?
And, you know, I was on a call the other day with some of the folks, the council folks, and I said, you know what this is reminding me of? Did you ever watch The Price is Right growing up? And
Yeah,
you remember one of those where that mountaineer is like slowly.
Yeah.
It's like we've been watching this whole time, and we're at the peak of the cliff, y'all.
It's getting steeper and steeper and steeper.
And it's like we should have been taking steps, and now we have the opportunity to take steps, and we need to before we end up falling off this cliff.
Right.
So
and you know, I think we all know that there are ways that we can do this together. I mean, the whole Better Together campaign that is growing right now is about, it's not just about housing, but it's about the fire department getting the funding that they need so they can provide better quality services, safer services. It's about the recreation centers becoming 21st century hubs for multi-generational families, right? All those things are connected. And so when we're just talking about housing, and that was one thing that Yvette Simpson said years ago when she was on council. She said, you know, we can't just build housing. We need to have communities where people want to live, that are safe. And I think that's why this Better Together is really a strong proposal, is that, look, we want to have safer communities by boosting up the fire, but also by boosting up the rec center opportunities, right? So that we have connected to each other. Because we know things like drug abuse come from the, you know, it comes from isolation, depression, and loneliness, right? And we can fight those things by having rec centers that are funded, that have activities and things like that, right? So, you know, we know that Better Together can bring us there as a city. But if we wait, we lose our residents. Like so many folks are getting pushed out. Then it's like, who are you representing? You know, our city council is not moving on this right now. You know, they're not pushing forward on the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. They're trying to figure out what's in it and how many funds are there and that kind of stuff. But they're not pushing forward on funding the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And every day that happens, we lose residents, you know, people who have made Cincinnati what it is, right? The people who have gone to our schools, that have gone to our churches, that, you know, are working, are the jobs that, you know, we need to stay together as a community. And we're just saying, we're just giving them the finger and saying, you got to go, right? I mean, that 45-day notice is every time someone gets a 45-day notice, it should have the signatures of city council on the bottom saying, you know, we allowed this to happen.
Right. And try finding something in 45 days.
Right. That you can afford.
From personal experience, try to do it in 45 days. And so I remember the point I was going to bring up, because we were talking about workers, right? And being able to afford. we don't have a shortage of workers. We have a shortage of wages. So if I'm going to apply for a job and I realize that, oh, I'm only going to be making $15 an hour, but yet my rent's going to be $1,000 a month, I'm not going to take that job because it's not going to meet my needs, right? So it's a shortage of wages. Pay decently so that people can, and I know inflation has jacked this up too. Folks should not have to work 2 jobs just to make a living, right?
Right.
So we that's an important part that really factors into the holistic picture of someone's well-being. Yeah. Shirley said need controls on rent increases. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And we need to be smart about it too, because in places, I think like Indianapolis, they have rent control and they just kick people out so they can raise the rent for the next people. And so what they've done is they've had some kind of guerrilla, tactics, and say they send a letter to the person who's in the apartment now and say, hey, just to let you know, my rent was this in your unit and they raised it, to kick me out. So we need to figure out like creative ways that we can stop that from happening. It seems that, even if you're making $15 an hour, which, people had talked about, that's a livable wage, you can only afford about $775 a month in rent. And that doesn't include, that doesn't include your utilities. I mean, you can include $775 in rent and utilities. And if it's $100 for utilities, that means you're looking for an apartment that's $675. And if you go onto Craigslist right now, besides the scams that are on there that have apartments for $500 or whatever, but if you look at, the real apartments, there's probably, 5 apartments that someone can afford out of, pages and pages of apartments. There are very few apartments under $700.
Right.
Even
and
one
then everybody's
bedrooms,
applying for them.
Right. In studios. And then they have the, application fees. Some of them have like hold fees now. I was looking like, what's a hold fee?
Non-refundable.
Right. And so.
And somebody, there's like 6 people looking at the apartment because that's the average, right? So.
Right.
Small group of, small number of apartments that you can look for, that you qualify for. Then you got 10 people who are all looking at the same apartment. Then they're getting charged. All of them are getting charged application fees, and none of them are getting the money back.
Right. And then once you get your keys, you can't get in contact with maintenance or your landlord or anything like that, right? And Shirley's like, yeah, administrative fees.
It's happening. Like, can't tell you how many folks.
Out of town folks as well, out of town landlords and yeah, those fees that, people have for different things, like late fees, right? If you miss your rent, you're going to get this late fee, and that could just bubble up as well, right? So we got to think about ways in which people can be supported. But the real issues are that we don't have enough livable wage jobs, and that stems out of anti-Black racism. We don't have enough affordable housing, and which stems out of anti-Black racism. We don't have enough housing protections, which stems out of anti-Black racism, right? So, Cincinnati, one thing that we are known for is our racism, from Marge Schott to, whatever, William Henry Harrison down on the horse downtown, right? Like he was advocating for Indiana to become a slave state, right? I mean, we've got some abolitionist history here too, but we definitely have some white supremacist history as well. So,
all right. Any questions? Feel free to put them in the chat.
Yep.
What's up next, Dr. Mark?
And so we've got, guess what, y'all? This is the world premiere of the cover of the Street Vibes that is being released tomorrow. And we're working on a series of looking at justice in public spaces. And part of that is with the stairwells. So we talked a little bit in this edition about accessibility, but we also talked about how those stairwells connect parts of communities. So the feature article talks about places along stairwells like Project Connect or the City Gospel Mission's Women's Recovery Center that's being built on the Main Street steps, just different organizations and people that are working to work towards justice here in Cincinnati in one way or another. We also have the executive director of Springer on Our Steps wrote about connecting communities and the history of why so many communities have had the stairwells shut down, and because of fear of what might come up and down those stairs, and kind of a little bit of the history behind that, which is pretty cool. There's also a walking tour, so y'all can take a walking tour in this. Not like the walking tour we give at the Homeless Coalition. We always offer those as well. It's $80 for a walking tour with your group up to 20 people. But there's a walking tour in there as well. So really just some theme stuff around stairs. Next edition in 2 weeks, we're going to be themed about alleyways. And so we're going to be talking about some of the issues that people have in terms of finding bathrooms. We'll talk about mosquito boxes and hostile design. Just lots of different things in that. So make sure you get Street Vibes. It comes out tomorrow. You can get the one today. If you don't have the one today, make sure you get that. Healthcare privacy is a concern. Data privacy is a concern. Go ahead and get that one, but go ahead and tomorrow get out the historic stairways of Cincinnati. There's some great pictures in it and some stuff. Willa Jones wrote a poem about the 15 stairs that when she got moved out of Parkway Towers and temporarily after they fought for that building and were able to come back eventually after it was redone. But the 15 stairs between her and the front door that she had to go up and down every day, that just changed her life, made her life just really difficult. Now she's in a flat place. So she's on the first floor and it's flat. So really good. So go ahead and check that out. Would be really good for us to see. And, we always need folks to support Street Vibes or writing for it, sharing it, sending it to friends. We're going to be a little bit more active on Facebook. So go ahead and share the stuff on Facebook today. Sounds good. Once again, as we start to wrap up, go to 513relief.org if you need to get support for someone who's looking for housing. Now, a lot of this stuff expires next month. So if you're somebody who's behind on your housing, you need to act now. If you know someone who's behind on their funds, you need to act now. 513 Relief, because the federal government's about to take that away. So make sure you do that. Sound good? Well, what else do we got here for us? We've got.
Yeah.
Don't forget to go to actionforhousingnow.com. We're still pushing. If City Council doesn't put this on the ballot, we're going to go back to the drawing board, AKA we're going to get it back on the ballot ourselves. Right. And so, because, the people power can't be stopped. So make sure you're signed up on Facebook for Cincinnati, actionforhousingnow.com, Action Now on Facebook, but also go to actionforhousingnow.com and sign in. Just put your information in so you can get the information that we send out, because we're going to need people. Likely going to need people to start collecting signatures again.
Yep. Join the fight.
So make sure that you, know that we're going to be able to come together with the rec center and with fire, and we're going to restore the 0.3% earnings tax so that we can have affordable housing and secure people's housing today. So again, here's your to-do list. We want to make sure that you can still write City Hall and City Council and say, put it on the ballot, let us vote on it. It's not that difficult. Let the people vote on it. And then also, if you haven't watched How to Talk About the Housing Crisis, make sure you look at that. We talked a lot about the Affordable Housing Trust Fund on that as well. So make sure you check that out. Again, if you got something for Street Vibes, you want to let us know, go ahead and send it to Cincy Street Vibes at cincyhomeless.org, or go to cincystreetvibes.com and learn how to submit. If you haven't joined your community council to adopt the equitable development rubric, why not? We need you to do that. If you're not on your community council, get on it, figure out when it meets, and all that kind of stuff. And then donate to the Homeless Coalition. Yeah, to support all our work. That was good. I don't know who put that on there, but yes, definitely we need your donations now more than ever. We are in a place where we need your donations more than ever. So
we broke. Let's be honest. We got hit by the pandemic too. Let's be honest and real. So
So yeah, we got hit by the pandemic. So we don't take city money so we can specifically get up in their faces and say, hey, this is what you're doing wrong. This is what you need to do right, which is basically support affordable housing. We do that specifically so that we can be the voice of our member organizations. We have about 70 member organizations who rely on us to be their political voice. So when you support the Homeless Coalition, you're supporting our member organizations in many different ways. And so really we need your support. So if you can go to cincyhomeless.org, click on that donate button. Street Vibes has got a fundraiser on Facebook right now. If you're on Facebook, just go over to Street Vibes and go ahead and click donate. We're thankful that retired Judge Mark Painter helped us with because this is, newspapers are kind of going out. They're sadly going out, so people are not printing them as much. So we actually have to get ours printed out in Dayton, Ohio, right? I mean, that's the situation that we're in. So we are thankful for Judge Mark Painter for helping with some of those printing costs, but we still need money. So that doesn't cover the administrative costs and all that kind of stuff. So, please, I'm asking you, friends, family, strangers who don't even know us, who like the work that we do, please go to cincyhomeless.org and donate. Even if you do like a $10, $5 recurring monthly donation, we appreciate that. I mean, sometimes we see those names every month and we say, remember that one person who would send 95 cents, like a check for 95 cents I mean, how cool is that, right? A 95-cent check every month, that makes a difference. I mean, the more people that support the Homeless Coalition, the more power in our voice, and the more we can represent our member organizations and people experiencing homelessness. Because don't forget, we're still in a lawsuit against the city of Cincinnati for violating the constitutional rights of people experiencing homelessness. We are, still fighting them. And so really your support of the Homeless Coalition helps support the fight to end the criminalization of homelessness, but also to support affordable housing, support our member organizations that are shelters and provide food and legal and medical services, and all those folks that are part of the Homeless Coalition. Your donation really helps us with that.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today, y'all. We will see you next month.
All right, y'all. Everyone, take care. Thanks for your comments. Make sure you share this video right now. Share it. And we'll see you soon. Take care, everybody.
Bye.